ready. Yeah.
All right, I'll give the countdown. And 3, 2, 1, we're live.
Welcome to the WalterFootball.com Fantasy Football Show. So instead, I got 147th place, and it was a difference between $70 and $3,000. So a little bit of a difference there. So,
Wow.
Yeah, just slightly.
Yeah, just a little bit. Nothing too drastic.
But you know what? That's what's interesting about fantasy football is that you have to pick your team almost as good as the real football teams have to pick their players in order to win. I mean, you could be off by just one player.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially in a contest where you're playing against, I think it was 112,000 people.
Wow.
It's someone's going to have the perfect lineup, or in this case, it was I don't know how many people it was, but it was a $30,000 top prize. But because there were so many people who tied for first, they all got like $3,400 or something like that. So it's not always like that. Sometimes there are contrarian lineups that hit, and there are only one or two people who win the whole thing. But on a one-game slate where you don't have that many options, you're going to have more likely than not, you're going to have some people sharing the top prize. So that's the only downside of doing showdown slates. That can be a little frustrating, but that rarely happens on like Sunday slates where you have at least 7 games and you have so many players to pick from. So yeah, I mean, it's going to happen. And I've won some contests. I've come close in some contests, and I lose some contests. So it's going to happen, and you just have to get back on the horse and try again.
Yeah, I mean, and again, that's what's fun about this too, right? Is you get another opportunity tomorrow or the next week. So, but anyway, it made watching the games a lot more exciting. I think my family's a little confused because I am watching football and asking questions. So, but it has kind of, because this is what the guys love to watch. And so it is kind of fun to get in there and be a part of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's great. And football is fun to watch by itself, but then when you add the fantasy and betting aspects to it, it just makes it even more enjoyable. So there were several injuries that happened this past week, even more so in that game, the 49ers Seahawks game. We saw Emmanuel Sanders get hurt. That changed the game completely for the 49ers. They're up 10-0. It seemed like in complete control of the game, and then Sanders got hurt, and Jimmy Garoppolo suddenly didn't have anyone to throw to. He had to throw to Kendrick Bourne, who had an interception bounce off his hands. He had another one that was almost picked. The 49ers dropped 9 passes. It was horrible. So their offense kind of capsized after that. If it wasn't for the defensive touchdown they got from Russell Wilson's fumble, I think that the 49ers would have lost the game in regulation. They gave themselves a chance in overtime, but they whiffed on the field goal. I was even skeptical on Twitter. I said, even before the kick was attempted, I said, this guy's a rookie kicker. He's not a long-time field goal kicker in the NFL. To rely on him for a 47-yard field goal in overtime, I thought was very irresponsible. I thought they should have passed more, try to get closer, even try to get the touchdown. So they didn't even have to rely on the kicker at all. So I thought that was a big mistake.
Yeah, that is. And I just learned something else today, and I guess I should have known this already, but you're out there Twitter feeding this. So I need to get into your Twitter during the game nights and days and watch your Twitters, as well as we've got your website that we can reference to before the games. And I did ask you if you could kind of go over this for some of us who don't know how to read this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have my homepage up here, walterfootball.com. The top article today is the 2020 NFL mock draft. On Wednesday, we have our mock draft posted. So that's NFL draft content, not kind of relevant to this. So the other updates is usually kind of where you're going to find the fantasy on Wednesdays. Sometimes picks will be up here. But NFL picks, this is against the spread. So if you click this, you'll see how I've done against the spread this year. And I mean, it's been my best year ever. So, but we're kind of focused more on fantasy here. So the second link is Fantasy Football Week 11 rankings. So click on that.
That's this week, right?
Yep, this is week 11. So yeah, this is the rankings this week. So this is standard quarterbacking scoring. So obviously we're going to go over this later. So this is the link you see here, the quarterbacks. This top row right here is all standard scoring, so it doesn't count receptions. So running backs, receivers, tight ends, defenses, and flex. Flex is running backs, receivers, and tight ends. So here we have PPR, which is points per reception. So if your league counts points per reception, and DraftKings is points per reception. So these are the rankings here, and this is half PPR, where obviously half a point per reception. That's FanDuel scoring. So that's we didn't used to do this, but we got it. We got a lot of requests for it, so we do that now. And then we have this, but who do I start feature that you can type in two players' names and compare them. So let's just say you have Jimmy Garoppolo and you have
Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson's off this week, so
Okay.
Derek Carr. Let's just say Derek Carr. So standard scorings, compare the players. So Derek Carr will be in green. Expected points 23. Garoppolo expected points 18. So you can do that as well. And you can go back to our weekly rankings here and access it this way. We also have injury reports, which is hasn't been updated today, but it will be. It's usually updated during the evenings, every single weekday, plus right before the game. The game's on Sunday with the inactives, actives. So those are the weekly rankings if you're looking to build your own lineups on DraftKings or to start whoever you're trying to start in your year-long leagues. We also have a stardom sit-em feature. This is kind of like I prefer the rankings, but some people like looking at this. So we have like Thursday night's game, obvious starts, the Steelers defense for the Browns, Nick Chubb, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Browns defense, and then sit them. So these are players who want to start kind of the stardoms. I have the obvious stars. So these, like someone like JD McKissick, not I didn't hear, Michael. I assume that was you. I didn't hear what you said, but the JD McKissick I have as a stardom.
Okay, Michael, you need to fix your headset.
Yeah, I'm not hearing that. So so JD McKissick is someone you want to start this week. Whereas Sidham's Lions passing offense and Matthew Stafford's out. So we have every game here. It's kind of like I said, it's a broad look at all the games. Once again, I prefer the weekly rankings if you're going to look into that. That's more detailed.
So in your weekly rankings, can we take a look at that again?
Mm-hmm.
Say for this week.
Sure.
So when we take a look at this, we're able to look at those who are playing and who they're playing against as well, and
sure. Yeah,
like rank them from 1 to 10, basically, right?
Yeah, it's everyone. Every single player is playing.
Oh, you ranked all of them. Okay.
Yeah, every player is playing. So these quarterbacks. So let's look at PPR receivers. So this is gonna be a longer list. So we have Michael Thomas, number 1. It says Saints at Bucks. I'm projected for 28 points. Here's his projected stat line: 9 catches, 100 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, and then a brief write-up on each player who's significant. You keep scrolling down. So these are all the receivers who will be playing this week. Goes down to these minor players I'm not going to have write-ups on. It would just take too long. So yeah,
that's a lot of research and a lot of work to go through.
Yeah,
but this helps with understanding how you go about making your picks for each week. I mean, it's a tough job. I mean, I'm sitting there going, but I like this guy, but I feel like this guy's better. Your injury reports are very helpful for me, understanding, what players maybe not be on their top mark. And, and so it's very helpful, and I appreciate you taking time to showing all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have some other stuff here. 2020 NFL Draft Big Board. That's NFL Draft content. Then we have NFL Draft DraftKings picks. So this is if I have something.
That's what I do, right?
Yeah. If we have something for DraftKings, it'll be up here. If you don't see it up here, you can scroll down a little bit to the Fantasy Football Rankings section, and it'll be right here. So these are all our fantasy football content links. Some of them are not, some of them are old, like Sleepers Bust. That's from August. It's from before the season. So kind of everything is here. But The new articles we have are other updates for November 13 and obviously tomorrow 14 and so on. Clicking on the NFL DraftKings picks. So I have 3 lineups for tomorrow's Steelers Browns showdown. So I kind of I crunched 40 lineups earlier today, and I kind of chose the three of the better ones I liked. I've mentioned this before, but something I like doing for showdowns is to fade the highest owned non-quarterbacks, because if those guys go off and you have them, you're probably like, you have a low chance of winning because everyone's going to have those players. But if you don't have those players and they struggle, you're going to give yourself a good chance of winning the contest outright. And that's what happened to me Monday night. I faded Tyler Lockett, the Seahawks receiver. He's been having a great year. He was the projected highest owned non-quarterback on the slate, but he didn't have a good game. So I was in position to win. I just made one mistake. And if I went with the 49ers defense, who got a lucky touchdown, it was a fluky touchdown, but they got there. So if it went the 49ers defense over the Seahawks kicker, it would have been a winner. So that's kind of it's kind of the example I pointed out a few weeks ago when I won the Texans Falcons showdown slate. I faded Julio Jones and DeAndre Hopkins, who were two highest projected non-quarterbacks, and they both didn't have great games, and I ended up winning that contest. So that's kind of the strategy I like doing for these showdown slates. We don't know who's going to be the highest owned non-quarterback. That information will be available on Thursday, and I'll make a point of it on this page on Thursday afternoon. But I think it's going to be either Nick Chubb, the Browns running back, or James Conner, the Steelers running back. I think it's going to be one or the other. I have no issue fading both of them. The running backs are so reliant on touchdowns. Neither of them's a high volume receiver out of the backfield. James Conner can get some receptions. He's done that in some games, but generally he doesn't do that. It's going to be Jalen Samuels who does that. So I'm fine fading both of them. So I think someone you might want to target is Odell Beckham Jr. He hasn't had a great year. He's disappointed, but he's one of the most talented receivers in the NFL, and he has the potential to have a huge game. We saw it, I believe it was week 2 against the Jets. He just went off with it was like an 80-yard touchdown. He was just tremendous in that game.
It's pretty amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah. He's low floor, but he's high ceiling, and it's sort of the type of guys you want in these large field tournaments. And with people being down on him, I don't think he's gonna be very high owned on Thursday night. So I like him here so he's the captain here. I'm pairing him with Baker Mayfield, so that's definitely positive correlation you have there.
You said that he's the captain. Where? Oh, okay. Okay. It's right there. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. These are done on Fantasy Cruncher, so that's
Right.
why this might look different than how it looks in DraftKings. Fantasy Cruncher is just something you can pay for, and you can import your CSVs to DraftKings that way.
Yeah. I mean, I play those. I think those are a lot of fun. The other one is that Flash. They just started it. The Fantasy Flash picks, and it's like every quarter you pick your team. So it's a little too intense for me to attend.
Yeah, it's for someone like, if I weren't working on the site full time, I'd probably do it. But the fact that I'm writing notes about the game as it's going on, and I'm trying to trying to do work for the upcoming games, I probably just don't have time to do that every quarter. But it sounds like fun. I just it sounds like a lot of work too, though. So
I took a look at it, and it's not a lot of work, but it's also a lot of money. They're wanting you to put up money on the bets, and I mean, I think that if you're really good and coordinated, and you do your homework and research, you could probably play one of the games. Well, you could probably do more, but I thought, wow, this would be kind of fun to pick it every quarter, but it was intense. I couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah, I know. I don't blame you at all. That sounds like a lot of work.
It's too much. I wasn't enjoying the game. So, but thank you for sharing this with us. I know we had three visitors, but one dropped off. I don't know if it was due to technical problems. But does anyone have any questions, or shall we move on to our with Michael?
I, Michael, I can't hear what you're saying.
Okay, anytime that happens, it's just somebody trying to call me. It's not me talking. You can hear me fine.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Now I can hear
Yeah, yeah,
you.
good. Yeah, it's good. It's just people are buzzing in on my phone, and you're getting the buzz thing, and you're thinking it's me talking. It's not.
Okay.
Okay.
I wanted to say something about. I think Jimmy Garoppolo was finally exposed by Seattle, and San Francisco hasn't played a playoff strength team all year. They haven't played anybody all year, kind of like the Patriots, and that's all going to be changed on. Well, we'll see on NBC Sunday Night Football Week 12 when they made the Green Bay Packer game against the 49ers the highlighted game of the day.
Yeah, they flex that in. It should be a good game. With Garoppolo, I just to defend him, I haven't been the most ardent supporter of Garoppolo. He I thought he was a little overrated as well. But to defend him a little bit, he lost Emmanuel Sanders early in the game when they were up 10-0, and he also didn't have George Kittle at his disposal. And his receivers dropped 9 passes, which is just ridiculous. That number should never happen. Even half that number, 4 or 5, is too high for a single game. And he had 9 drops.
Didn't have the fingers during that game. I mean, what was up with that? I mean,
he was down his top 2 receivers, so he was throwing to his tertiary or quaternary options. So like he didn't really have his best teammates on the field. So if you look at his stat line, if you factor in, if you turn those 9 incompletions into 9 completions, his stat line just suddenly looks a lot better. But he did make 2 other mistakes. He lost 2 fumbles as well. So his pocket presence didn't look too great. He looked a little jittery in the pocket.
He looked very scared. And the eye test is what I'm talking about. The guy was scared. You put pressure on him, he falls apart. And Green Bay will put pressure on him. So that question, whether or not he's a quality quarterback, will be decided, I think, on Week 12.
Yeah, no, I think that'll be a good test for him for sure. But I would say that maybe he looked jittery because he didn't have anyone to throw to. Maybe no one was open and he didn't know what to do. So I kind of want to defend him that way. And plus I feel like the 49ers offensive linemen who returned from injury, I think they returned from injury a week too soon. They didn't look too healthy. I'm talking about Joe Staley, the left tackle, Mike McGlinchey, the right tackle. They had been out for a few weeks and they returned, but they didn't look completely right. So
who the 49ers played this year?
Who the 49ers played this year?
It's the same thing here. They haven't played anybody yet.
Well, the thing is that they've crushed everyone they played before Monday night. So I kind of think it's not like they've snuck by these bad teams. They've embarrassed almost everyone else. I actually want to pull that up. So the 49ers in week 1 they beat the Buccaneers. Week 2 the Bengals. But both games are blowouts. Week 3 they beat the Steelers even though they committed 5 turnovers.
You said Mason Rudolph is the worst quarterback in football.
He's pretty bad. Yeah, he's horrible. The week 5 they crushed the Browns. Week 6 they crushed the Rams. Week 7 they beat the Redskins in that swamp game. It was just weird. Week 8 they killed the Panthers. That's a legitimate team. The Panthers almost won in Lambeau. They were a yard away from winning, and the 49ers just embarrassed the Panthers. It wasn't even close. So I think that's something you can look at. I think I just don't think it was a great environment to judge Garoppolo. That's what I'm saying. I think that he can still prove himself, and I think all it takes for him is to play on a B- level, and the 49ers can win the Super Bowl.
He's a game manager.
Exactly. Yeah. Nick Foles won a Super Bowl 2 years ago. So if Nick Foles can win, I think Garoppolo can win if he doesn't make mistakes. So that's all I'm saying. And if he has his full complement of receivers on the field, including George Kittle, I think he can get there. I think he can lead the team to the Super Bowl. But, if they're going to be down Sanders and Kittle, it's going to be tough.
I don't know. I'm beginning to wonder about the NFC because you also saw what happened to the Saints. What explanation or excuse do you have for them?
Oh, did you see my reporting for the Saints? I'm going to jump to my picks page here since we're sharing the screen. I want to show you. So I watch every game twice, and I do that because I want to make sure I don't miss anything.
How do you find the time to do that? Do you have like two screens going at the same time, or?
Well, NFL.com has a Game Pass, and they have a condensed version of the game. And it's like a half hour, 35 minutes for each game.
Oh yeah, because if you're watching without commercials, you can.
Yeah, and not just commercials, but like they'll run a play and then they'll cut forward to right about the next snap. So you can skip all that, and then I fast forward through the special teams plays. So it really takes me like 25 minutes to watch each game, and it's not too bad. So I want to show you a year ago, I noticed that Cam Newton got injured against the Buccaneers. So that was big. I noticed something the second time I watched the Saints. Drew Brees right here in the at the 10:20 mark of the second quarter, he was grabbing his ribs in what looks like pain. It looks like he's wincing in pain. So I'm wondering if Drew Brees is injured, if he has a rib injury, because he did not look right. He scored 9 points at home against a bad defense.
Yeah. Very bad.
That was a red flag. If the Saints had lost, 26-23, you could say, okay, they just overlooked the Falcons. They weren't trying very hard. They got blown out against one of the worst teams in the NFL, and something has to be wrong. And so this was the first game I watched twice because I was like, I have to figure out what happened here because the result was so inexplicable. And I'm just looking at Brees, and he didn't look right the whole game. And that shot where he was grabbing his ribs, I think is pretty telling. So I don't know. I could be off here. Like maybe this is nothing, but he may not be 100%.
No, that's that's pretty evident right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a concern for me. I've dropped Brees in my fantasy rankings this week. We'll go over where he is exactly, but he's not someone I'm going to play until I know that he's healthy. I have no issue playing Michael Thomas because Michael Thomas is just an amazing player and he's going to catch a lot of passes, especially in PPR. But everyone else on the Saints, I think, is someone you want to stay away from.
You would think, and I know we need to move on with this, but you would think that when someone that important gets slightly injured, that they would pull themselves out of the game and back up, play it until they're better, right? You would just think that that's just common sense.
It is common sense, but I don't think NFL players use common sense, because they're so sometimes they're arrogant with their injuries. They think they can play through everything, but that kind of comes with the territory. Like they're warriors out there. They're playing against 250-pound men who run 4 or 5 40s. They're going to get hit hard, and they could suffer head injuries that could affect them for the rest of their lives. And yet they're out there playing these games, and it's kind of it's pretty reckless. And if they're going to be reckless that way, you have to imagine that they're going to play through injuries. So I think you're right about the common sense thing. That is the logical thing to do, but I don't think these players exercise logic.
Well,
a lot of guys have lost their jobs that way and never gotten them back again, like Don Mikowski with Brett Favre.
Exactly.
Sure, yeah.
Like you would think that business sense, your mind would tell you, if I just sit back, rest a little bit, I'll play even better when I get
They're
back.
afraid of losing their jobs.
And let your backup, carry the ball for you until you get better. I know it's an ego thing, but somebody needs to sit down and have some logical business sense with these guys, because.
Yeah, no. What Michael was saying is these players are afraid of losing their jobs. Michael cited something that happened with the Packers. You can also point to Drew Bledsoe getting hurt and then Tom Brady taking over. It's happened a lot over the years. And, Drew Brees, he just saw Teddy Bridgewater win every game he started. So, it's not like Brees is going to lose his job. But if Bridgewater comes in and is better than Brees and leads him back from victory, all of a sudden, the media would be like, okay, maybe we should start Bridgewater until he loses.
And it happened to Cam Newton this year.
Yeah, with Kyle Allen, sure. Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. The kind of the cliche is the Wally Pipp thing. That's what people say is he's been Wally Pipped. So that's something that could certainly happen, and that's something on the players' minds too. But I think overall the players just want to play. They love the game, or they love the money, or both. So they want to they just want to be on the field and competing. And their careers don't last very long. It's not like a normal person's career where they start right after college and they retire at 65 or 70. These guys come out of college at 22, 23, and they play, if they're lucky, to their mid-30s or late 30s. And that's it for them.
Or Brett Favre until you're 50-something.
Yeah, Tom Brady till you're 42. Breeze is 40. But they're the rare exceptions. Most players retire. Most good players retire in their mid-30s. So they want to stay on the field. They don't want to lose the jobs, like Michael said. So I definitely agree with that.
Well, what's your opinion on the combine Saturday?
Oh, the Colin Kaepernick workout.
It's been a Tuesday. Yeah, Saturday, the day before NFL games, so that no one can attend.
Yeah, that was very confusing to me because Kaepernick said, I look forward to all the coaches and GMs attending. And I'm thinking, like, if you're an NFL head coach, like, you have to prepare for a game the next day. Like, you're not showing up.
Yep.
Like, maybe a GM shows up, like, not a coach. Like, there aren't going to be any head coaches there unless, the 4 teams they're on bye. And,
I think he was saying that sarcastically to point out that it's a farce.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I can understand that if that's the case. I know that the 4 teams on by are Seattle, Tennessee, Giants, and Packers, and only Tennessee really needs a quarterback. But Tannehill's playing fairly well, so it's not like Kaepernick would be an upgrade over Tannehill or anything. So.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe Cincinnati would be a place that might give him a shot. I was really trying to think who would even want him right now after 3 years.
Yeah, but it's tough to add a quarterback in the middle of the season who doesn't know your offense. So he would have to learn the offense. You have to come in, and like you said, he hasn't played in 3 years. So what shape is he in? I guess we'll see during the workout. But the fact that he has to learn an offense, and there are 7 weeks left in the NFL. By the time he learns an offense a little bit, there'll be 4 weeks left in the NFL. And like, who's going to want to sign him? I just don't see it. I think it's kind of a farce as well. So.
Oh, and the only other thing I guess I should mention, because just thinking of that sham, there was a sham controversy in one of our leagues. So anyone watching the show or interested in joining a fantastic fantasy football league, please enter your email address and I'll send you an invite.
Okay.
Sounds good. It's
you're not booting me out, are you, Michael?
No,
I just got started.
No, you're a great addition to the league, and it's going to be a very great league now.
I try. I mean, I try to dedicate 15. I had to dedicate a lot of time the first time I had to do it because I had to learn. But I try to put in, if Michael says I need to pay attention, I try to put in 15 minutes a day. So
yeah, we got a bunch of guys on by this week too. So let me know if you need help with that.
Okay.
Yeah, and that league's a dynasty league or a keeper league, right? So
it's fantastic. But we had 3 guys that were doing some shady stuff, and then it turns out that there was a 4th team that suddenly disappeared too. So apparently they were controlling that one as well. And that just can't. I talked to you about that to get your opinion, and as you said, it can't be tolerated.
Yeah, no, that's I agree with that. But yeah, it's not like you're joining you're talking about people joining your league. It's not like you're joining a year-long league that's going to redraft. So like, there's no point in taking over a team like that. But if in a dynasty league, you can definitely take over.
Yeah, these are playoff teams. It's hard to get a team that's good. So it's a great opportunity for anyone who really wants. And we have IDPs as well. So we got defensive players. Anybody who likes a real challenge that takes intelligence and is very competitive, this is the league for you.
Sounds good.
Did you hear that second word he said? Intelligence. I'm just warning you guys, Mike has no tolerance whatsoever.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of drama. It's kind of like why I like DraftKings. There's no drama. You're just drafting your team, and then you just draft a new team the next week or the next
Yeah,
day.
it's I like them both because I'm learning. But DraftKings is I played a lot this weekend, by the way,
Really?
and it was kind of fun. Can I ask a question to anybody? Because I just don't know this answer. Are there any undefeated teams this year?
In the NFL,
Yeah.
that we just saw the last one lose Monday night with the 49ers losing against
Okay, that's
them.
what I thought. All right. I didn't have that written down, so I didn't know if they were going to be the last. All right, so
Yeah, they looked like they were going to go 9-0, but then Sanders got hurt and Matt Breida got hurt, and their center, Weston Richburg, got injured. Although he came back about 10 snaps later, but yeah, that was they were they're the last team remaining, and they lost. So I didn't know if we had any questions or if you wanted to move on to the top rankings for this week.
well, I think we did a good job reviewing how to do this and reviewing everything else. I don't see any questions from anyone, so let's move on.
Okay, sounds good. My number one quarterback this week is Patrick Mahomes against the Chargers. The Chargers defense is missing 3 safeties. They have other injuries as well, so I feel like Mahomes, a week healthier now. He showed little signs of rust last week against Tennessee, but I think in an easier matchup like this, especially in Mexico City, where those games tend to be high scoring, I think Mahomes is good. It says at Chargers, but this game's in Mexico City. Number 2, Deshaun Watson. This is going to be higher than most people have Watson, but the Ravens blitz more than any team in the NFL, and Deshaun Watson just absolutely destroys the blitz. So I think Watson's going to have a huge game against Baltimore in an upset victory. Number 3, Lamar Jackson. He has a high floor because of his rushing, but the Texans are getting some players back from injury. They're getting Bradley Roby, their top cornerback. He's returning this week, presumably. So Lamar Jackson's matchup, I don't think, is as good as people might think it is. And we have Romeo Crennel, one of the better defensive coordinators in the NFL. He's had 2 weeks to prepare for Jackson, so I think he's going to have something up his sleeve. Number 4, Dak Prescott against the Lions. The Lions have an atrocious defense, and Prescott could easily be the top scorer this week at the position. Number 5, Josh Allen. He is a high floor as well because of his running ability. He tends to score rushing touchdowns, and the Dolphins have a horrible defense, so Josh Allen should have a great game. Number 6, Jameis Winston. This is contingent on the Saints cornerback Marshawn Lattimore being out. Marshawn Lattimore has just haunted the Winston and Mike Evans over the years. He's shut down Evans in most games. But Lattimore pulled his hamstring last week, and he didn't practice Wednesday. So if Lattimore's out, that's going to really help Winston this week. So I like Winston if Lattimore's out. So if I hear any news on Lattimore, Winston will drop. Otherwise, he's number 6. Number 7, Philip Rivers. Not a great matchup. The Chiefs' pass defense is actually not that bad. But I think the Chargers are going to be way down, and that means Philip Rivers will have to throw a lot. So that should work out well for Rivers. Number 8, Tom Brady against the Eagles. The Eagles have gotten some players back in their secondary. So they're not going to be as bad against the pass, but still, Tom Brady with 2 weeks to prepare, he's going to be angry coming off a loss. So I'd like to play Brady if I can. Number 9, Derek Carr against the Bengals. The only concern I have here is if the Raiders go out to a big lead and then Derek Carr doesn't have to throw that much. But the Bengals have a horrible defense, and Derek Carr should play well. And then number 10, Drew Brees. He's going to be much higher because the Buccaneers have a terrible secondary. But I'm concerned about the rib injury, and this might end up being too high. But I'm going to be, I think other sites have Brees like number 2, number 3, number 4. So I'm going to be lower than him than most. Michael, do you have any thoughts on this, or Kim?
No, not
Rivers has been inconsistent lately, but he always pulls himself. He seems to get motivated for big games like this, especially when he's behind. So I actually guess I really do like Rivers and Winston.
Yeah. Kim, anything?
no. I'm just absorbing. So
Okay.
I might have something later once we go to the next.
Okay. Before we move to running backs, I wanted to highlight Kyle Allen. He's 11th in my rankings. Kyle Allen is he's very cheap on DraftKings, and a lot of people are going to have him. In fact, he's the projected highest owned quarterback this week on DraftKings right now. So that is concern. If Kyle Allen were lesser owned, I would have interest in him against Atlanta's secondary, which is not very good. But if more people are going to own him than not, then he's someone I'm going to try to pivot from. So a heavy owned Kyle Allen is far different than a heavy owned Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson, where more likely than not, those guys are going to be some of the top scoring quarterbacks of the week. Kyle Allen is not that talented. He's okay. He's decent. He's in a great matchup against Atlanta, but for him to be the highest owned non-quarterback, I think that's kind of treacherous territory. So I'm going to try to avoid Kyle Allen on DraftKings. Right.
Okay.
What was that question from Susie?
Okay.
Hold on. I think she's just running. Let's see. A little late here. Oh, thank you for sharing your website and reviewing how to use it. Are there other places to register to play fantasy football besides DraftKings? And do you tweet or Facebook any updates just before the game that we can keep up with? Thank you. And it's from Susie. Thank you, Susie.
Yeah. So
you have Facebook and tweet, right?
Yeah, I have Facebook and Twitter. On Twitter, I'm at Walter Football. For Facebook, you can just search my name and come up, and that'll come up, and then I'll confirm your friend request. So yeah, I do post updates on there. So you can definitely check that out. And I'll have updates. The site is constantly updated too. So DraftKings is my favorite place to play fantasy football. FanDuel is another place you can play. I don't like FanDuel as much. I don't like the interface nearly as much, and plus it's half PPR, which I think is kind of gimmicky. I feel like you should go all or nothing. I just like DraftKings overall better. You can play on Yahoo as well. That's becoming more popular, and you're not going to have as many sharks playing Yahoo. I also wanted to highlight something on the site very quickly. I'm going to this link usually is not up on Wednesday. It's up on Thursday on the homepage, and I'm going to get to that very quickly. I'm uploading it right now. So you can actually play daily fantasy football on walterfootball.com on our website.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So on the homepage, you see right below the picture, the top picture, it'll say free weekly fantasy football DFS contest. So if you click on the link, it'll take you to right here. So we have our weekly fantasy contest, week 11. It's completely free to play, and the winner gets $150 each week. The second place gets $75 each week. So nothing crazy, it's for fun.
Is
but
this a game you put together?
Yeah, my web developer Dennis and I have made this. So you can so let's just make a dummy lineup here. So quarterback, I mentioned Kyle Allen. I don't know how high owned he's going to be. So Kyle Allen, let's pair him with DJ Moore, and let's go Curtis Samuel as well. That's Devo Samuel. There's Curtis Samuel. So we don't have pictures for everyone. So let's go with the cheap running back. Let's go David Montgomery. This is not who I'm recommending. I'm just dummy lineup. We need another running back. Let's go cheap as well. Let's go Jordan Howard. Tight end. We can go very cheap with tight ends. So Noah Fan, I suppose. And then a flex, which is any position. Cooper Kupp.
Oh.
And then where is it? Where is submit right here? So your lineup is submitted. You can add additional lineups. You can play up to 5 lineups each week. So yeah, I mean, you can win $150 here and play for free. So, and we have this thing here that says at 2,000 or more entries, the prize will rise. It'll say once we hit 2,000, it'll go up again. So at 2,000, it will be 200 and 100 respectively. We usually don't hit that. We usually hit around 500 to 600 entries per week, but it's fun to play. It's free, so there's no risk involved at all.
So when the game is over, you get the results there?
Yeah, it'll where is it? Leaderboard. It'll say in the leaderboard. It's not as updated as constantly as DraftKings. We're kind of we have limitations there, but at the end of the day, it'll show who the leaders are. And so you can see that for week. Well, there's no leader in week 11 yet. So week 10.
Oh, you could look at the
Yeah.
past.
So
Awesome.
two Nash, the one with a score of 190. So let's look at his lineup. Here we go. Lineup. Here we
What's
go.
the deadline?
The deadline is kickoff on Sunday. So
Michael's gonna play.
yeah. So here's his lineup. He went Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott. Interesting to go quarterback, running back, but Kenyon Drake, Amari Cooper, Dede Westbrook. This must be for another week. That doesn't make sense. This must be for like week 9. Yeah, Sammy Watkins. No, I think this is probably from week 1. I have to check with Dennis on this, but yeah, on the leaderboard, it'll say what it is.
So what's the highest score you can get when you do something like this?
You could have it really depends on the week. Like if you have a quarterback who scores 40 and a receiver, 2 receivers who get 40 and a running back who gets 50, like it can get pretty high. So we had 190 be the highest score in week 10. So yeah, so here we have past winners. So
okay. So
yeah,
this looks cool, and I'm going to tell my friends about it so they can play. We got a question here from Joyce, if you don't mind. She's asking, why is it not good to pick a player that's heavily picked? I mean, you had mentioned that. That's a good point. Thank you, Joyce.
Right. So on DraftKings, usually the bigger tournaments, you have upwards of 100,000 people in it. I mentioned Monday night that contest had, I believe, 120,000 people in it. So if you pick a high-owned player, that means obviously so many other people are going to have him. And if he produces well, that means everyone else will have a player, and you really won't have any differentiation in your lineup. So if you have, let's say, for example, if you have James Conner Thursday night, and let's just say 65% of people have James Conner, and he does very well, that doesn't mean you're going to win because everyone's going to have James Conner. You're just going to be with the field.
The odds, yeah.
Right, but if you don't have James Conner, and 65% of the people have James Conner, and he struggles and doesn't produce well, you're going to have leverage on 65% of the field. So that's the reason why you don't want to have a high-owned player. Now, if you're playing, let's just say with a small group of people, and they're like, it's a private. On DraftKings, you can have like private contests where you play with anywhere between 2 and 20 people, or maybe a little bit more. Let's just say you're in a work contest and you're only in a contest with like 5 or 6 people. Then you can have James Conner because you're not trying to differentiate yourself from 100,000 people. You're just trying to beat 5 other people. So you probably want to have James Conner in that scenario. But if you're going against 100,000 other people, you need to be different in order to give yourself a chance to win. Now, it's going to feel bad if you don't have James Conner and he has a great game. You're going to lose, obviously.
Right.
But you're probably going to lose if you have James Conner and he goes off because so many other people have him. So to give yourself the best odds of winning, you want to go against the grain, and you want to give yourself the best chance of being, of winning by being different.
Being unique. There you go. Well, thank you. That's awesome. So yeah. I got a lot out of that. Thank you, Joyce.
Yep. All right, let's get to the running backs. Number 1, Christian McCaffrey. He's probably the de facto number 1 running back every week. He's just amazing. Number 2, Ezekiel Elliott against the Lions. The Lions have just a horrible defense. Elliott has not played very well this year, but you have to like him in this matchup. I feel like he should bounce back. Number 3, Josh Jacobs is very cheap on DraftKings in relation to his talent level and projection. I believe that Christian McCaffrey is 10,500, Ezekiel Elliott's around 9,000, and Josh Jacobs is only 7,000. So Josh Jacobs is very cheap. He's probably going to be one of the highest owned running backs. But so if you're playing a regular slate, other than as opposed to a showdown slate, so Josh Jacobs at very high ownership, he's probably going to be like 20-25%. Not rather than if he were in a showdown slate, he'd be like 70% or 75%. So I'm okay with playing Josh Jacobs at 20 to 25% ownership on a Sunday slate, as long as you're different elsewhere. So he's good chalk to have because he's a great player. He has a great matchup. He's a very he's a very low chance of struggling. So I think Josh Jacobs is a great play this week. Number 4, Leonard Fournette against the Colts. Fournette is, I feel like with Nick Foles back at quarterback, the Jaguars will have a better chance of scoring. So Fournette should do well. Number 5, Dalvin Cook. Not a great matchup, but he's a great player, so I'm not going to sit him. But on DraftKings, he's very expensive, so probably going to avoid him. Number six, Tevin Coleman. So he and Matt Breida usually share carries, but Matt Breida is injured. So Tevin Coleman should get the majority of the workload, and he's kind of a favorable matchup against the Cardinals. The 49ers should be in position to score a bunch of touchdowns. Number 7, Alvin Kamara. He's much lower in non-PPR scoring. The Buccaneers are great against the run. They're the best team against the run in the NFL. But Kamara gets so much work as a receiver out of the backfield that you just can't ignore him in PPR. So he's up here in the PPR rankings. Number 8, Le'Veon Bell against the Redskins. He's going to, again, like Kamara, he's going to catch 4, 5, 6 passes. He's far worse in non-PPR, but in formats where catches count, you definitely want him. Number 9, Melvin Gordon. He's playing very well lately after a slow start. So I like him. And then 10, Brian Hill. He's very cheap on DraftKings. He's like 4,000 or something. He's probably going to be like 30% owned, but I think you just have to eat that because he's very cheap and has a good chance of scoring well, and that allows you to get to other great players in your lineup. So Brian Hill, he's going to be replacing Devontae Freeman, who's out for a week or two. So
there's a lot of bargains this week, and that's one of the best ones.
Yeah, absolutely. So Michael, any thoughts on the top 10 running backs?
Well, Mostert is also a guy that could, the way 49ers rotate, Coleman, you never know. What I want to know is what's going on with the Cardinal running backs, because if Chase Edmonds is coming back, I would rate him very highly. I don't know what's going on with Drake. Drake came back down to earth, and then Johnson's hurt. What's your opinion of the Arizona running backs?
Well, I think you have to play Johnson if he's healthy. The problem is that Johnson's not healthy. Right. He looked like he couldn't move Sunday against the Buccaneers, and granted, it was the toughest, again, like I said, toughest run defense in the NFL. So I didn't think he was going to do well in the first place, but he looked injured, and I don't know why they even played him. They should have sat him out. So I don't think you can play any of these guys. They split too many carries. And it's not an easy matchup against the 49ers. The 49ers are worse against the run than the pass, but it's still not an easy matchup. So I think that's just a situation I'd want to avoid this week.
So how did Drake do so well against them then?
I don't think they were very focused for that game. And I don't know. And Drake, you got to remember, Drake was the only running back they had available. Yeah. But now, they have David Johnson. They might have Chase Edmonds. So he's going to have to split touches. If it was just Drake, and I'd like to play him.
Be.
Sorry?
It might be.
Yeah.
With Drew Brees being maybe not in the best condition this week, would the Saints running back be a good pick, or should we kind of avoid him? I noticed you had him in the higher end. But, to me, a running back also relies on a good quarterback, right?
Yeah, in terms of scoring touchdowns, absolutely. But as I said before, the Buccaneers have the top run defense in the NFL.
Right.
So Kamara doesn't have a good matchup run-wise. But I do like him in DraftKings because you get a point per reception. So he's going to catch 5, 6, 7, 8 passes, maybe 4.
Okay.
But he's going to be in that range. So I like Kamara. I don't love him, but I like him a little bit. And he made my top 10. So.
No. I mean, I like the fact that we learned that sometimes it's other things that impact his gain and not his. I like learning that.
Yeah, there's correlation everywhere in football.
There it is.
It's great, and it's kind of like that translates to DraftKings. So if you're playing in a big tournament, you want to have your quarterback paired with at least 2 receivers, or in most cases, because if a quarterback throws a touchdown, and you don't have the receiver he's throwing the touchdown to, yeah, you're going to score points, but someone else is going to score more points than you are because they had that receiver as well. So you want to have the quarterback throwing to at least 2 receivers on the same team. So that's something you want to correlate with. Conversely, you don't want to have a running back and a quarterback from the same team because if a running back scores a touchdown, that's a touchdown that the quarterback's not going to get. So that's negative correlation that you want to avoid. So if Brees were healthy,
Aaron Jones.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
Maybe that's what's been taken away from Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange. It's a unique situation with the Packers because their receivers before Devontae Adams' return was so bad that they had to throw to their running backs, and so it was very unique. And I would say Carolina was kind of similar with Christian McCaffrey, where McCaffrey was their top receiver, but now you have DJ Moore emerging. Moore has played out of his mind lately, so he's someone that's come along, and then Curtis Samuel. So I think earlier in the year I would have said, yeah, you could pair McCaffrey with Cam Newton or then Kyle Allen, but now I wouldn't really do that.
Hey, before we start with the receivers, could I ask you about Scary Terry now that he's got Haskins at quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, well, Scary Terry is up here somewhere. Yeah, he's number 18. I like him this week, just fine. He's definitely
like him for the rest of the year.
I like him a little bit less because while Dwayne Haskins is not a scrambling quarterback, he does run more than Case Keenum did. So that's going to take away a target or 2 per game for McLaurin. But I still like McLaurin. His talent level is great. He's the number 1 receiver by far on that team. And Haskins has gotten better each week. He's not great or anything, but he's getting better. And I think in great matchups or even like slightly positive matchups, you can use McLaurin. And in very difficult matchups, you'll want to avoid him. But he has a great matchup this week against the Jets, so he's in my top 20. And in fact, he might be in the top 15 by the time the week is over. He's one of my core players for DraftKings. So I'm going to try to get him in a bunch of lineups.
Very good.
Okay. So let's get to the top receivers. Michael Thomas, even with Drew Brees injured, he was a monster last week. He's priced at 9,900 on DraftKings this week. Just absurd. I don't think I've ever seen a receiver priced that highly. It would be like if Randy Moss back in 2007, he would be in the 10,000 range. So that's what Michael Thomas is doing. He's scoring 25 to 30 DraftKings points every single week. He's just a beast, and he deserves that price. Number 2, Tyreek Hill. He has a tough matchup against Casey Hayward, but I think Tyreek Hill is someone who's matchup proof because all it takes is for him to get the ball into his hands on one play, and he can just go the distance. He's so fast, it's unbelievable. So he can break an 80-yard touchdown with the snap of the fingers. So he's someone you want to have in DraftKings, and that's a Monday night game. So he's not someone I'm going to be shying away from on DraftKings. Unless he's projected to be like 80% owned, I'm probably going to have him. Number 3, DeAndre Hopkins against the Ravens. So I mentioned how I liked Deshaun Watson this week because he's so great against the blitz. I think that'll help Hopkins a lot, and Hopkins should be one of the top receivers this week. Number 4, Amari Cooper. He is Darius Slay this week, but I don't think Darius Slay is 100% healthy. So he should have a great game. Julio Jones, number 5. We just saw Devontae Adams go off against the Panthers, and I think Julio Jones should do the same. The Falcons lost Austin Hooper and Devontae Freeman to injury, so that should just mean more targets for Julio. So I think Julio could have a good game. Number 6, Mike Evans. I think it's funny that I have Evans and Winston both number 6 because they're so contingent on whether or not Marshawn Lattimore will play. If Lattimore is going to play, I would drop Evans considerably because Lattimore has had his number over the years. But if Lattimore's out, and again, he didn't practice Wednesday, Evans is absolutely a top 10 receiver this week. Number 7, DJ Moore. I mentioned him. He's been going nuts lately. He's one of the most improved players in the NFL. I think he's a legitimate number 1 receiver. He's seeing 9 to 11 targets every single week, and he's been a very great producer. He's only like 5,900 on DraftKings. He's going to be very highly owned. But again, in big Sunday slates, that highly ownership is not 65%. It's going to be 25%. So if you can get different elsewhere, you can play DJ Moore. Number 8, Julian Edelman. He has a high floor, high ceiling. It's very rare for him to be like that because Tom Brady is going to throw to him a lot, and Edelman could have a steady, 6-catch, 70-yard game. I think that's his floor. His ceiling is 6 catches, 70 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So like he can go crazy. So Edelman is someone you should consider, and I think maybe a forgotten player because there's so many high-end receivers on the slate. I think people might forget about Edelman a little bit. Number 9, Chris Godwin. He would have the better matchup if Marshawn Lattimore plays. But if Marshawn Lattimore doesn't play, then Chris Godwin is secondary to Mike Evans. So that it really depends on that. And then Cooper Kupp, he didn't have a single catch last week. That could mean that people won't own him as much in DraftKings. And if that's the case, then I'll happily own Cooper Kupp. He's a fantastic receiver. So any thoughts on this, Michael?
It looks good to me.
Okay. Kim, anything before we go to tight ends?
No, I think that was a good rundown.
Okay. Let's go to tight ends.
Decimated position by injuries. It's tough for people.
It really is. Yeah. Austin Hooper went down. George Kittle, we don't know his status. I have him here. Sorry?
Chris Herndon, too.
Yeah. Chris Herndon, the great sleeper who never played.
Never came back.
Unbelievable. Yeah. It's ridiculous. So I have George Kittle here, number 4. Let's start off with him. Obviously this says he's going to play, but I don't know how confident I am in that. He didn't look too good Monday night. It looked like he was favoring one leg. So he might have trouble playing. If he plays, if he practices Thursday or Friday, I'm going to shoot him up these rankings. And in fact, he might be number 2 or number 1.
Well, they're going to have to shoot him up for him to play.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Which is why I wouldn't play him. He's too valuable.
Yeah, I know. I would sit him out as well, and it's an easy matchup. I don't think they need him to beat the Cardinals, so they could sit him out. So he's someone, if he plays, he could be the top tight end this week. But yeah, it's looking pretty grim. So if you check back on Thursday or Friday in these rankings, he might be at 0. So we'll see. But let's start at the top. Travis Kelce, number 1. Great matchup against the Charger linebackers who are very slow. I don't see how they're going to stick with Kelce. He's a Monday night play. I usually don't like tight ends as captains, but he's someone who could definitely break that because I think there's only been one winning tight end captain in showdowns over the last 75 showdowns. But he's a rare exception. Number 2, Darren Waller against the Bengals. The Bengals have the worst linebacking core in the NFL. He should have a great game. 3, Hunter Henry against the Chiefs. The Chiefs have a bad linebacking core, so I think you noticed the trend here. 4, Kittle, I discussed him. 5, Zach Ertz. I have a slight concern about Ertz because Bill Belichick can shut down one aspect of an opposing offense. And because he has Stephon Gilmore to take care of Alshon Jeffrey, he might focus on Zach Ertz. So I might drop Ertz's projection later in the week, depending on what I think. Number 6, Greg Olsen. He's going to be highly owned on DraftKings. He's someone I'd probably shy away from in high ownership. He's very old and he's very consistent. He could have a good game, but he could also have like 2 catches. So, but he has a good matchup. But so in year long, he projects well. In DraftKings, I wouldn't use him. Number 7, Eric Ebron. Jack Doyle, who I have number 8. Jack Doyle didn't practice Wednesday, so I don't know what to read in that just yet. But Ebron saw 12 targets last week, and I think that could project well. The Jaguars have a bad linebacking core, so I like either Colts tight end, and if Doyle sits out, Ebron is going to rise in these rankings. Number 9, Jared Cook against the Buccaneers. He had a great game against the Buccaneers the first time he played them, so I think he should have a decent game this time, even with Breeze hurt. Actually, if Breeze is hurt, that could actually help Jared Cook because Breeze will have to throw shorter passes, and that'll benefit Cook. And then
I just learned something. Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. And number 10, TJ Hawkinson. He's been very inconsistent as a rookie, so not a surprise. But Dallas struggles against tight ends, so Hawkinson could sneak into the top 10. So, Michael, any thoughts on the top 10?
Yeah, Hawkinson. The Colts situation is so muddled that I'm afraid to go near it.
Agreed.
And the next guy you got, Everett, has been on fire lately.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like you got Dawson Knox up there. Dawson Knox was a hot commodity earlier in the year, and then he just fizzled into nothing. Croft was getting a lot of snaps there, and I like that you're. I'd like the guy reminds me of a young Jeremy Shockey. I'd like to see him do well.
Yeah, I like Dawson Knox. He's very athletic. He should do well. And Everett has been on fire for sure. But they also have Tyler Higbee, so that's a little muddled as well. Like I could see like Higbee doing better than Everett a couple weeks. So
Yeah, they paid him all that money. He's done nothing.
yeah, I really don't understand what that was all about.
Yeah.
It's not even hindsight. Like when that signing was made, I was very skeptical of it.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to defenses real quickly. So defense, I'm not ranking every defense because there's some defenses you don't even want to consider. But the 49ers against the Cardinals, a rookie quarterback playing in San Francisco, I think is going to be troublesome. Vikings against the Broncos, again, it could be rookie Drew Lock. If it's Drew Lock against Mike Zimmer, that's going to be very treacherous for Lock. Number 3, the Rams against the Bears. Mr. Trubisky is he can give away the ball very easily, and the Rams could take advantage of that. Number 4, Bills at the Dolphins. Ryan Fitzpatrick can melt down at any moment. He can throw a couple pick sixes, so the Bills seem like a good option to me. Number 5, Browns against the Steelers, and then you also have the Steelers against the Browns. So I like both sides of this. You have two sketchy quarterbacks who are turnover prone. I think both defenses should do well. Number 7, Dallas against Detroit. This will move up if it's Jeff Driscoll, and otherwise it'll stay the same because if it's Matthew Stafford playing, I would say the Stafford's not going to be 100%. And then we have number 8, the Jaguars at the Colts. This says Brian Hoyer will start. So any thoughts on the defenses?
No, that looks pretty good.
Okay.
It's easy to read too. So
yeah.
The thing is we could check back Friday and we could check back and see if you made any changes, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and we have a timestamp here, so not on defenses for some reason, but quarterbacks it'll say updated 11/13 at 2:08 p.m. So that's how you can tell if it's updated. It usually will be updated at least once a day. As we get closer to Sunday morning, it'll be updated 4 or 5 times based on injury news. So the last update should be around noon. Once we have all the news, because the inactives actives are posted around 11:30 a.m. Eastern before the games, and then it'll take me like about 15 to 20 minutes to get everything in. So that's walterfootball.com. So check it out. We have tons of content, not just fantasy. We have NFL draft content, picks content, so even NBA. So we have that too.
Yeah, Walter gets involved with a lot of different other things besides just the fantasy picks that we've been talking about. Something I do want to add, or are we done with the picks?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So one of the things I wanted to add is when you go to DraftKings, for those of you who aren't aware, and you register, you use Walter Football as a coupon code, and you get something for that. And that's pretty cool. And also, when you're out there playing DraftKings and you just kind of flip through it a little bit, there are free games to get into as well. I played a few over the weekend that didn't cost any money, and you have an opportunity to win. Now, if you're like me, you're so inexperienced, you're lucky to make in the ranking somewhere. I'm always at the bottom, even below Pickle. But but it's fun and it's free. And then I play some of the other ones because I got a little bit of change to play with, and that makes it exciting. But there's a Colonel Sanders game as well, and that's fun to get into. So I mean, there's different games to play. You just have to get in there and play around.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have this pulled up here. So if you go to lobby, and then click at the top for NFL, it'll show up in a second. So these are all the NFL games, and you let's go to Sunday 11/17, the 11 gamers, and you sort by entry fee. You see this classic $0 where they have $5,000 of prizes. So it'll say what you can win. So top prize is $100, not the 150 that we offer, but they have other top. So if you finish in 2055th place, you get $1. And there looks like 23,800 people in it right now. I'm sure that will rise. It says out of unlimited. So there are going to be a lot of people who play this contest, but it's free. It's kind of like what we have on the site, and you can get your feet wet, get used to it. If you even want to play contests that cost something, right here you have 10-cent contests that you can enter.
Yeah, I was going through there going, oh my God, there's so many little things you can do. There's one-on-one contests. There's so that you just have to get your feet wet, get in there and learn them. But twice while I was in the lobby just looking for games to play, 2 popped up and said, hey, do you want to enter this in for free? And so I jumped in just to do it, and I didn't know about your free games, so I'm definitely going to everyone go on there and just get experienced with it and have fun over the weekend. And I'm going to get on your Twitter, and we'll all start getting more and more engaged. This is fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and they don't have any free games. It looks like for the Thursday night game, but they have a 10-cent contest. Looks like 59,400 people will be in it, but top prize is $500. So it's a great way to get started. I mean, like 10 cents is nothing. So you can like you said, you can register and use a promo code Walter Football. That's one word, and you get to play for free. After you make your first deposit. So I mean, 10 cents. Like I said, it's a great way to get started and to get used to it. And then once you build some confidence, and you think you're getting better at it, then you can enter like a dollar contest or $2. Like I'm sure they have dollar contests. Just keep scrolling, $2, $5, and it goes all the way up. It gets very expensive, but I mean, you could just play with what you're comfortable with, and you don't have to risk anything.
I like playing the one where I get to pick the captain. I don't know why I like that game so much.
The showdowns. They're fun. They have so if you click right here, game style showdown. They have the Steelers at Browns, but they also have these 3 for Sunday. So you'll be able to enter those as well. So if you click on Texans Ravens, so they have this is probably the best one, the $3 one, and grand prize is $1,000. So that's what I would enter. This $10 one is probably going to be the most popular with the $10,000 grand prize. Only 4,705 people in it. So it's not like you're playing against 100,000 people or anything. So, those are fun. I agree. I like building lineups there. It can be a little frustrating if you're tied with a bunch of people, but if you're tied with a bunch of people at the top, it means you won. So you still get to win a prize. A good prize, so, right?
Like you did. This week's going to be a better week, right?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So that's about it. Any other questions or anything else, Michael or Ken?
No, this week will be a better week. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an important week if you're 5-5 or 6-4, and you need to win in your year-long league to make a final push. It's an important one. So.
All right. Well, Susie said thank you. I think that's time for us to wrap up, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So you check on walterfootball.com for updates, or come back next week and we'll have another show. And tell us who you're going to pick in your fantasy lineups this week, or who you're fading, even if you don't like any of our rankings.
Luke, do you have any other questions or any input for our team here? It's awful quiet.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll sign off.
Yeah, I will say that check out walterfootball.com. We have updated fantasy rankings every single week. Looks like we have a comment or a question.
Oh, that's a wrap. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, great show. Thank you, Walter. Thank you, Kim.
Yeah, great
Thank
show.
you.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Sir?
It's valuable advice you shouldn't have given away, man. We should share that privately. This is anybody who's involved in daily, if they aren't listening to Walter, then they're really missing out. And it's an honor to work with you guys. It's a lot of fun.
I am just having the time of my life, and I need to listen more, and I am. But I also, I'm going to text you before I make my next. At least get the captain right this time. But no, this is a lot of fun, and I've learned so much. And thank you for explaining how all of that works
Yeah,
and what that
yeah.
means. Even though I didn't win anything, I felt like I gained so much just in
Yeah.
understanding what's going on and what you guys are doing when you're watching football all day long. It's not just about the game,
That's
right?
compelling, dude.
Yeah, it's
It's
very
theater. There's nothing like it.
so much analytics involved in
Yeah, yeah.
it. It is just mind-boggling but fun. But before we go, I want to thank our viewers who dialed in and ask them if they have any questions or pointers, or if they want to just say anything. I'll be more than happy to unmute anyone.
Give us your honest opinion of Walter's book after the flight.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna have to. Definitely, we'll do
Think how much
that.
smarter you're going to be after that.
Uh, One last question for me. This is from Luke.
Okay.
Let's see if we can pull this
Oh,
up.
yeah. Should he play Austin Hooper if Matt Schaub's playing? That's a great
Right.
question.
So should I still put Austin Hooper in my lineup even if his quarterback is injured and doesn't?
Matt Schaub. Matt
Dude.
I'm
Schaub.
thinking about the starting Darren Waller ahead of him in that case. And yeah, I've had that written down here. So yeah.
I would play Waller over Hooper. I don't think Hooper's a bad play if Matt Schaub is starting because Schaub is going to have to throw shorter passes. But what you're going to give up with Schaub is potential touchdowns because they might have like one drive at the end or maybe two drives in the fourth quarter where they get toward the red zone. But
Well, Schaub throw touchdowns for his team or the other team?
that's true. That's true. So Hooper, who I had at he's number 2. If Matt Schaub starts, Hooper probably dropped to like number 10 around there. So I would have Waller ahead a little bit over Hooper. Again, like it's not a good matchup, but they use Waller as like a receiver sometimes. So it's not like they're just going to take away a tight end again. Like he's just so talented that. And he's their primary receiver, so I would start Waller over Hooper. But obviously you want to pay attention to the injury report. So
and pay close attention to that before the game, right?
yeah. I mean, even if you do, like with David Johnson, you never know what's going to happen. So it's always a risk, but usually the quarterback's not going to be sidelined after one play. Like that. I've never seen that happen before. That would be remarkable. But yeah, so if Matt Ryan is announced as playing, then fire Hooper up. If not, then I would start Waller. So that's what I think about that. But it'd still be close.
Yeah, that's
Brilliant, Walter, and thank you to our millions and millions of fans watching on IBMTV.
Well, thank you, Luke, for the great and wonderful questions and all the other people who dialed in. Wait, we got something else. That's a good.
Thank you, Luke. Yeah.
Thank you, Luke. We thoroughly enjoy the fact that you're dialing in, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's it for this week. You can go to walterfootball.com. I'm going to have updated fantasy rankings every single day. We have NFL picks, 2020 NFL mock draft. So lots of content. And the book, please, if you want to support the site, A Safety and a Field Goal, it's available on Amazon. Check that out if you can. Otherwise, I will talk to you guys next week. And for everyone listening, just what do you think? Who are you going to play in DraftKings? Who are you going to play in your year-long leagues? Just let us know. If you have any sleepers that we missed, for sure, let us know in the comments. And otherwise, I'll talk to you guys next week.
Yeah, you guys can always post on Facebook too, and Walter does answer those posts.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, Walter. Thank you very much.
Love you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.